You've been saving for months, maybe even years. You've got $30, $40, maybe $50,000 sitting in your bank account, and you're about to walk into a dealership, slap that money down on the counter, and drive off in a brand new car, feeling like an absolute financial genius. No monthly payments, no interest, no debt. You're winning, right? Wrong. Look, I know that sounds insane. I know every fiber of your being is screaming at me right now, because we've been told our entire lives that debt is bad, cash is king, and if you can't afford to buy it outright, you can't afford it. And honestly, I believed that for a long time too. But when I actually sat down and ran the numbers, real numbers, not internet guru platitudes, what I found genuinely changed how I think about money. And by the end of this video, I think it's going to change how you think about it too. My name is Luis, and I spend way too much time thinking about car loans, interest rates, and the hidden math behind every major purchase you'll ever make. If you're someone who's been grinding to save up cash for a car because you think that's the smartest financial move, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. All right, let's get into it. Here's the thing most people don't realize about paying cash for a car. When you hand over $40,000 for a vehicle, you don't just spend $40,000. You lose everything that $40,000 could have done for you over the next 5, 10, or 20 years. Economists call this opportunity cost, and it is the single most ignored concept in personal finance. Let me paint you a picture. Let's say you've saved up $40,000, and you're looking at a nice, reliable SUV. Option A, you pay cash. Done. No payments. Feels incredible. Option B, you put $5,000 down. You finance the remaining $35,000 at, say, 5.5% APR over 60 months. And you take that remaining $35,000 and invest it. Now, you might be thinking, Luis, why would I pay interest on a car loan when I could just avoid it entirely? And I get it. That's the logical reaction. But here's where the math gets really interesting. Your monthly payment on that $35,000 loan at 5.5% over 60 months comes out to roughly $669 a month. Over the life of that loan, you'll pay about $5,140 in total interest. That sounds bad, right? $5,000 just thrown away? But hold on. That $35,000 you invested instead? The S&P 500 has returned an average of roughly 10% annually over the last 30 years, according to data you can pull straight from NYU's Stern School of Business. Even if we're conservative and say you only get 8% to account for inflation and bad years, that $35,000 grows to approximately $51,400 over those same 5 years. That's a gain of over $16,000. Subtract the $5,140 you paid in interest, and you're still ahead by nearly $11,000. You kept your cash working. You came out over $10,000 richer than the person who paid cash and felt smart doing it. That is the blind spot. Now, this isn't just a math problem. This is a psychological problem. And honestly, this is the part that frustrates me the most, because the financial industry knows this about you. There's a concept in behavioral economics called loss aversion. It was identified by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, and it basically says that human beings feel the pain of losing something about twice as intensely as they feel the pleasure of gaining something of equal value. So when you think about paying $5,000 in loan interest, it feels like getting punched in the stomach. But when you think about the $11,000 in net gains you'd earn by investing instead, that just kind of feels like a nice bonus. It doesn't hit the same way. And that asymmetry is costing you real money. You're making a $40,000 decision based on how it feels instead of what it does. Look, I'm not saying emotions don't matter. They absolutely do. But when your emotions are literally engineered by evolution to make you bad at math, you've got to step back and let the numbers lead. Here's another psychological trap. When you pay cash for a car, you experience what researchers call the pain of paying, a concept studied extensively at Carnegie Mellon and MIT. Handing over a massive lump sum activates the same regions in your brain associated with physical pain. So what do people do? They buy a cheaper car than they actually need, or they drain their emergency fund to avoid a loan, which puts them in a far more dangerous financial position.
A Federal Reserve survey found that approximately 37% of American adults wouldn't be able to cover a $400 emergency expense without borrowing or selling something. Imagine being one of those people because you dumped your entire savings into a depreciating asset just to avoid a monthly payment.
And that brings me to what I think is the most underrated argument in this entire debate. Let me explain this with an analogy. Imagine you're standing in a room and there are two doors. Behind door A, there's $40,000 locked inside a car that loses value every single day. Behind door B, there's $35,000 in an investment account that you can access if you lose your job, if you have a medical emergency, or if an incredible business opportunity falls in your lap. Which door gives you more power over your life? When you pay cash for a car, that money is gone. It's trapped inside a machine that, according to data from AAA and Edmunds, loses roughly 20 to 25% of its value in the first year alone, and about 60% over 5 years. You converted liquid, flexible, powerful capital into a depreciating metal box on wheels. When you finance and invest the difference, you keep optionality. That is a word I want you to remember. Optionality. It means having choices. And in personal finance, the person with the most choices almost always wins. Here's what most people don't realize. Wealthy people almost never pay cash for depreciating assets. A study from Experian showed that the average credit score for a new car loan is around 738. These aren't people who can't afford the car. These are people who understand that cheap debt, strategically managed, is a tool, not a trap. Now, I have to be honest with you, because I'm not one of those creators who's going to sell you a one-size-fits-all answer. There are situations where paying cash absolutely makes more sense. If you cannot get a loan rate below 7 or 8%, the math starts to flip. If your credit score is below 670, you're likely getting hit with double-digit interest rates. And at that point, the cost of borrowing erases the investment advantage. In that case, yes, pay cash or work on your credit first. If you know yourself, and you know that having $35,000 in an investment account is going to tempt you to pull it out and spend it on nonsense, then the discipline of paying cash might genuinely be the better move for you. Personal finance is personal. I can give you the math, but you have to know your own behavior. And if we're talking about a car that costs $12,000 or $15,000, look, the difference in opportunity cost at that level is so small that simplicity might just win. Finance the $40,000 purchase. Maybe pay cash for the $15,000 one. Context matters. All right, so let's get practical. Here's exactly what I would do if I were buying a car tomorrow. Step 1. I'd check my credit score before I even look at a single vehicle. You can do this for free through your bank or through sites like Credit Karma. If your score is above 720, you're in a strong position to negotiate a competitive rate. That's your leverage. Use it. Step 2. I'd get pre-approved for a loan through my credit union or bank before going to the dealership. Dealership financing is almost always more expensive because they mark up the rate. According to Consumer Financial Protection Bureau data, dealer-arranged financing can carry a markup of 1 to 2.5 percentage points above what you'd get on your own. That difference on a $35,000 loan could cost you $2,000 to $4,000 over the life of the loan. don't give them that money. Step 3, I'd negotiate the out-the-door price of the car completely separately from the financing conversation. The moment you let a dealer blend the price discussion with the monthly payment discussion, you've lost. They will stretch your loan to 72 or 84 months to make a bloated price look affordable. Keep those conversations separate. Always. Step 4. I'd take the cash I didn't spend on the car and open a brokerage account. Fidelity, Schwab, Vanguard, whatever you're comfortable with, and invest it in a low-cost index fund, like an S&P 500 fund. Set it and forget it. Let compound interest do what compound interest does. Step 5, I'd automate the car payment, so I never even think about it. This is where the psychological freedom actually kicks in. You're not stressing about a massive lump sum leaving your account. You've got a predictable monthly payment, your savings are growing in the background, and you still have liquidity for whatever life throws at you. This is where it gets really interesting. Because this isn't just about cars. This is about how you think about money at a fundamental level. Most people operate on what I call a debt is evil framework. And I understand why. Credit card debt is devastating. Payday loans are predatory. Student loans have crushed an entire generation. But somewhere along the way, we started treating all debt the same. And that's a mistake.
There's a massive difference between destructive debt and strategic debt. Destructive debt is borrowing money to buy things that lose value at interest rates that eat you alive. Strategic debt is borrowing money at a low rate so that your existing capital can work harder somewhere else. The wealthiest people and the most successful corporations on the planet use strategic debt every single day. This is not some fringe theory. This is how money actually works at the highest levels.
And here's the part that honestly keeps me up at night. The gap between people who understand this and people who don't gets wider every single year because the person who pays cash loses the growth. The person who invests the difference captures it. Over 10 years, over 20 years, over a lifetime, that gap becomes enormous. We're not talking about a few $1,000s. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in wealth that was either built or left on the table. And it all started with one car purchase. So the next time someone tells you that paying cash for a car is the smartest thing you can do, I want you to smile, nod politely, and then run the numbers yourself. Because the math doesn't care about feelings, and your future self doesn't care about how the transaction felt in the moment. Your future self cares about what you did with the money you had when you had it. Make it work for you. Not for the dealership, not for the bank, for you. If this video changed how you think about money, hit that subscribe button. Share this with someone who's about to make a big purchase. And drop a comment telling me, are you team cash or team finance? I genuinely want to hear your take. I'll see you in the next one.